Wow, today's conversation about grief. And from the hardest thing there is, the loss of a child, and the bravery, the resilience, the brilliance of this woman, Cara Martinisi, and talking about how she transformed this into something, and of course, how she still just deals with this on a daily basis. Amazing woman.
Yeah, Marci and I agreed when we started this podcast that we were going to talk about tough subjects. And I think this was right up there at the top. But wow, like to see how a woman has taken her pain and turned it into a purposeful life and purpose work is really remarkable. So if you know somebody, if you're going through this yourself, please listen in. This is a good one.
Yeah, and you can share Cara's information because she's doing this work for people who've been through this. So yeah, it's a good one. It's important. And obviously, trigger warning here for anyone who has lost a child in particular, but anyone who's lost anyone you love. We're going to talk about that. And it's hard. It's so hard, but there's hope. There's hope and there's help, and you don't have to do it alone.
The world is a lot right now. Are you feeling it? We all need new tools to help us walk through the chaos with grace, ease, and compassion for each other and for ourselves. In this podcast, you'll hear from parents, educators, and other experts who can bring perspective to the monumental job of parenting. It's time to level up and be warriors for our kids and our communities. This is the Warrior Parent Podcast. I'm Marci Mitchell.
And I'm Debbie DiManno. As parents, we understand that it really does take a village to raise our kids. We hope that this podcast serves to create and support that community for you. Join us as we discuss and practice our core tools, which are proven mind-body techniques that can be used by anyone to improve your life on a daily basis.
Welcome back to the Warrior Parent Podcast. As always, we're so grateful that you're joining us today. Today is going to be a really special conversation. Our guest is Cara Martinisi, and she is a wife and a mother to 3 boys. Her oldest son, Christian, is forever 6 and an angel. His death inspired her path to become a spiritual life coach, grief coach, journey dance guide, and founder of the nonprofit organization Love from Heaven. Cara's previous careers as an editor and a teacher have found their place in her current endeavors, and her writing has been published in various parenting websites. She's spoken on the topic of parenting after child loss at the Compassionate Friends National Conference. Most recently, Cara was honored to be part of the Love Mama Retreat faculty, chosen by Dr. Laura Berman, as she shared journey dance with close to 70 grieving mamas. Light can come from dark, and hope can come from loss, as we learn how to carry our loved ones with us in present-day life. Cara always tells newly grieving parents that they can and will continue to have an interactive relationship with their child. She's honored to walk alongside them on that journey, helping others overcome life's adversities, no matter what they are. Through the exploration of healing modalities is what lights Cara up. She strongly believes that there is healing in connection. No one has to walk the path alone. What a beautiful, beautiful introduction. Thank you so much for joining us, Cara.
Thank you so much for having me here, and thank you for introducing me. And I'm just honored to be a part of this podcast.
As
Wow.
always.
Wow. Okay. So just heads up, everybody knows like Debbie's a crier. I got my tissues here because I don't know that we've had this conversation. And I think back to when Marci and I decided, the when and the why and how we were doing this Warrior Parent podcast. And it was because we had to be willing to have very, very difficult conversations. And I think this is going to be one of those conversations. And so I am super excited to have you here, Cara. And I don't know what else to say about that other than give us your story about your beautiful son, Christian, and how you came to do this difficult work.
Absolutely. And just so you know, tears are more than welcome because that's a part of this journey for sure, right?
Yeah.
But Yeah, I have three boys. My oldest son is Christian and he is forever six, as we said. I like to use that language because I sometimes say an angel child, he lives in heaven, but it's just he'll never. I always have three boys. I always say that. So my actually what had happened was we're very close to the date. On July 3rd in 2014, our home was struck by lightning, and we got out safe. All the boys at the time, Christian was 6, my middle son Anthony was 3, and my son Nicholas was 1. And it started a fire in our bathroom. It struck the heater in our bathroom, but we got out okay. Everything was fine. We were all fine. The home, when they put the fire out, it had to be gutted and rebuilt because of all the water damage. But that was fine. And we said that summer. It was July 3rd, and we said we're all safe. And having the conversation with young children, we would really just reiterate that to them, that we're safe. Everything in that home can be replaced. We are the important things. And so we went about our summer and we found a rental home to live in. And Christian was heading into first grade. And we were there about 3 weeks. And one afternoon, the boys were coming up the driveway and we were entering into the garage. They were bringing up, my Christian and Anthony were bringing up the garbage can. And, we were going in and Christian, as a 6-year-old, right, went to swing on the supporting pole. It was a cement pole in the garage and it was not properly secured. And so it fell on him. And so I just remember in that moment having an outer body experience, and really my first thought was, I want my mom, right? Like, amazing how as a 35-year-old woman, that's your first instinct. So that just shows how deeply these relationships run. And from then on, my life was changed. I mean, just in so obviously so many ways. I mean, the shock of it all. And then raising a young family, the boys were 3 and 1. So telling his 3-year-old brother, who only knew life with him, we had to tell him. And you don't know, this is such an unprecedented thing. In the moment, you think, oh, this is going to be the hardest thing. But it's like the days, the weeks, the months following up with the questions from my children. My husband's grieving in his way, I'm grieving in my way. And so from there, we really, and I will say, I tried anything and everything, and my husband as well, that would give us like this much relief, right? Acupuncture and yoga and all the things, just the grief groups. But I just felt that in moving forward, as I did these things, I knew I needed to do something. I knew his life couldn't be taken in vain like this, and this totally random, tragic accident that, right? So in moving forward, we knew we wanted an organization to honor him. And so it took us a good 5 years to really get it going. But one of the things we do is we offer grieving siblings, we buy them holiday gifts and we fulfill their wish lists. And that was born out of what was done for us during our most difficult times. Again, I had toddlers, and who wanted to think about Christmas? But you have these living children, right?
Well, I just want to talk about that. So I'm thinking about you, or I'm imagining, I'm trying to put myself in your shoes, which I cannot do. But imagining, first of all, like you said, you're trying to process, your own trauma. You were there and saw it and, all of that, right? And your husband's trying to process. But like, how could you possibly do that when you have to put a smile on your face for these 2 little kids who have no idea how this could possibly have happened? I think about the toll that took on your own soul to be strong enough. I mean, I hear people talk about that, like, well, I have to be strong for my kids. But then you think so many of them are just strong and they push through, but never actually are able or have the time or the opportunity to process it themselves. So how have you been able to do that? I know you mentioned, a few of the tools. We're always about the tools. I think those are things that we share with you, but how were you able to carve out time for yourself to be able to go through what you needed to go through?
That's such a great question. After when we couldn't move back to our home, and we couldn't move. We weren't going back to the rental home. We were so fortunate to be able to move in with my parents. And so they
Mm,
certainly offered support. However, they were also grieving. I mean,
Yes.
the web that extends out is just unfathomable. But I think for me, it really, one of the things I did was each day I was like, okay, I'm gonna find one thing, at least one thing
mm,
that put a smile on my face, right? And sometimes it would be a shower, socks. Sometimes it would be my son would say something funny. Another, they would do something funny. They would just come up and hug me. But it was like, I just need to find one thing because there's no hope left for, when you're sitting there, you just feel like there's no hope. There's
yeah.
nothing. I mean, I would pray that, oh, please let him be Jesus Christ reincarnated, things that are so right outrageous, but you just don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
But I feel that finding that one thing, at least one thing, helped. And the other thing that really helped me from the beginning was I would walk a lot. And I would find these heart rocks, and they would be like, right after, and it was maybe a couple weeks, I want to say a couple days, a couple weeks. I don't remember the exact time, but I remember going into my parents' pantry, and I went in there, right? And I was like, what did I go in here for? And I just, all of a sudden, this big, huge heart appeared in front of my eyes. And I was like, oh, okay, right? But as time went on, I think Christian showed me that, oh, hearts are going to be a way that I'm going to connect with you. And so I would
Yes.
go on these walks and find these hearts. And again, even if it offered a second of,
Yep.
relief or like connection, or it was like something that I would take like the teeniest, tiniest thing and just grab onto it and
Yeah.
try to
Yeah.
Yeah.
do what I could to build it.
Yeah. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, you can see that she's surrounded herself in these hearts. I see these little
Yeah.
hearts all around her in her office. So
Mm,
I had a feeling that that might be your sign. My husband's father passed away a few years ago, and the song Three Little Birds, Bob Marley song, came on
Mm.
the radio exactly when it happened, and that has been our family mantra. So her house is covered in three little birds, and there are thousands of these little birds everywhere, every nook and cranny in the house. And it's
sweet.
how she does it. It's how she
Yeah.
does it. It's how she does it every day. It's that those little reminders, and she finds them in the darndest places, right?
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
you would never imagine, and you go, okay, that couldn't have, could that
Yes.
be in that perfect heart shape? And yeah,
Yes.
and that gives me so much comfort to go on.
Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. I feel like it just needs to be said, and it probably most people know it, but I remember a minister saying this to me about 15 years ago who had been counseling people, but he said basically the hardest thing on the planet, the hardest thing we can be given is the loss of a child. And so, we had decided in August we wanted to talk about stages of life and different things. We were kind of coming up with a theme. And so of course grief felt like an important stage. And so I commend you for having the strength and the courage to speak about something so difficult. And I hope that it a balm in some ways that I know the work you're doing is, but I wonder about, I think about this being the hardest thing. We know like there's grief. Debbie mentioned, her father-in-law. He was obviously older. It's still a lot of grief, but this feels like the Mac Daddy of all griefs. And I
Yeah.
have before had a friend who had this experience, and I remember just feeling so completely not knowing how to help her, not knowing what was the right thing to do. And I think I didn't want to disturb her. I was like, I can't go over there and get in her face or like try to. It's like I felt like she's got this process. So I remember writing her a letter and then trying to drop it off, and her husband saw me out front, and this wasn't even someone I was super close with, but it was someone that I knew and I was working with, and he called me in. And so I was like, oh God, I don't want to, but I felt like they wanted me to come in. And then I just held her, and she just cried and cried and cried. And it felt like, okay, she needed that. And, obviously I just cried with her. But I wonder, for you, especially in the beginning, but even now, because this is with you for forever. What were the ways that people showed up for you or that you appreciated versus the things that maybe really hit wrong for you? Because I think everyone's trying to do their best. But yeah, I'd be really curious to know what moments supported you, and what things you would encourage people to maybe not say or do?
Yes, that's a good question. I think just what you said is what I tell people all the time when they ask me, what can I do? And it's like, you can just be there and hold space and just allow whatever comes up and don't shy away from it.
Yeah.
Just be there, because sometimes, and I've had this experience, I've heard this from other grieving parents, it ends up to be where we're having an emotion and then that person feels so bad. And like, we as the griever end up consoling them. And it's like,
Yes.
Yeah.
Not it. Not it.
that's not it. And you're right.
Yeah.
No one has a malicious intention when they're
Right.
saying or doing things, but it's really all about just being there. Just even sometimes I'll say, because you're right, you don't want to bother someone. And even
Right.
other, parents, I'll say, like, you don't feel like you have to answer me. I'm just going to keep checking in, in the periodic like texts of just checking in.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm thinking of you. Hey, how are you? Don't feel like you have to answer me though,
Right.
because you don't want to give them another thing to do. But
Exactly.
I think definitely just being with us. We had a meal train which is a popular thing to do.
Yeah.
And that really helped because that took a whole burden off of us.
Right.
And really, I will say, like, the holiday gifts for us was huge because it's like a minefield when you're trying to grieve, and then you have this whole thing happening where you have to, buy presents for your child or be happy or,
Yeah. Create the holiday magic, which is the mom's job, right? And normally we're loving it and it's fun, or at least I do, but I could see
Yeah.
how that would be the last thing you'd want to have to do. So somebody just showing up and maybe decorating a little for you and wrapping some presents and helping, maybe taking your kids to a Christmas show or something to,
Yes.
yeah.
We had a lot of people do that for us, kind of
Yeah.
taking the kids and doing things with them and, just trying to piece it together because you're really in survival mode for so long. And you're right. You asked the second part of that question that I do want to address as well is now, this part now of
Yeah.
I'm 11, almost 11 years out. It'll be 11 years in August, the day of his angelversary. And now what it looks like is really just,
Hey, we just wanted to take a quick moment to tell you about something very exciting that Debbie and I and our team have been working on for literally years. And that is our Cour Tools app, which is now available at the Google Play Store and at the Apple Store. And you can sign up for it now and you will get access to all the tools we've been talking about on the podcast.
And if you're an early adopter of Cour Tools, you can get a VIP price for $49 for a lifetime. That's
Lifetime.
right.
Buy it once and we'll keep updating it too.
Yes. So we're super excited about this. Go to Apple Store, go to Google Play, and purchase it now.
Cour Tools, COUR, capital TOOLS.
Go get it.
me being able to say to someone, this is a really emotional day, and still being able to cry. His graduation, he would have graduated high school next June. And I didn't know, but it hit me in January. It was like, I'm thinking a whole year and a half, really? It couldn't give me like, but so it's been a very emotional time for me. So people just giving me the grace when I say, I might break into tears here. I might be crying about this. I might not be able to be there for you right now because I need to get me together. I need to support me. Those are really important things.
Yeah. I was, following you. I was looking at your Instagram and all the beautiful work that you're doing. And what I found so impactful was this idea of doing this purpose work, right? So not only are you surviving through this, but you have found purpose, and the purpose ultimately is what keeps you going, right? And we say this all the time, and we do purpose workshops. Purpose is our middle name in many regards, for Marci and I, it reminds me of a friend I had who's a veteran, and we wrote a book with him, but he said to me, a man without purpose is really not able to be on the planet. So we're finding that purpose stands out in every piece of our life, right? It's for younger people right now. They're walking around like, zombies, but how can we get them to have some purpose, right? Without having to go through something like what you've been to be able to do that, right? But tell us a little bit about, a few examples of the purposeful work you're doing and how you may be impacting those other parents who've had similar experiences.
I feel like I always say, like, I'm like the local person when a child dies, it's like, oh, go Cara Martinisi, which is fine. I'm happily in that role because I think that while everyone wants to do everything that they can, the only person who can truly understand it is someone who has walked in those shoes.
Yes.
So I very much take that role. And I feel honored to be there for these people when tragedies happen. So I do right away, I kind of do like a triage, and I'll say, whatever you're comfortable with, you want to talk on the phone, you want to do a Zoom, you want to meet for coffee, let's do it, and so like, that's kind of my first line of like meeting with them, or, an email. And then we do our monthly meetings, which have unfortunately grown. I'm so happy to see that people are finding this help and finding our resource. What I love to do with those for me is I combine it with, some months we'll just have a chat, right? And we'll just talk about what's going on, maybe it's seasonal, whatever. Other months I will bring in some different healers, some different things, different people. We had one month, we had a woman who did mandalas with us, and she did a sound bath.
Lovely.
We've had aromatherapy come in, someone with the oils. Just feel it's very important for people to know that there are so many things out there, and to give them that opportunity to try it without them having to even spend the money for it, up front. Make it available to all.
Make it easy, because that's there are a million things out there, and we always say there's tools for everyone. So you have to try different things to see what works. But for you to make it easy for someone who's already in a place where their bandwidth is probably very limited is probably just very powerful.
Yeah. And we've done, like you said, like you worked day-long workshops where it's been like a day. So I try to really do for those people who want the monthly experience. Some people don't want that. Some people want a one-off. So we do day-long workshops. We have our first ever retreat coming up in October, which I'm thrilled about, because I know I've been to 3 retreats now, and the power of a retreat, being immersed for a time where the outside world just falls away.
Nothing like that.
Healing.
Where are you doing that?
That's going to be in Connecticut. It's in Litchfield, Connecticut.
Okay.
And it's just we're going to be in a beautiful farmhouse, and it's going to be in October. So the leaves will be changing.
Beautiful. Yes. Perfect time.
Healers coming in, and
that's lovely. How many people will you have at that retreat?
We're starting with 10. I said I want to start small and have it manageable. And I'll be doing journey dance, which is another
talk
way
about
that
journey dance.
I would love to, because I'm so passionate about it. I found it at a Grieving Mothers retreat. And it was one of those things, you ever go into an experience where you're like, all right, I'm going to do this, but I don't know, is this really
exactly
what I want to do?
Oh boy, oh boy.
Our eyes are closed, we're barefoot.
Be brave.
Be brave. And I completed it, and I was like, that was about 2 years into my grief journey, most transformational thing that I had done up to that point. The release that I felt, for me, sadness, crying, depression, those are usually like my default emotions. It's the anger that I shy away from. It doesn't really come up. And it was such a powerful way to have that move through me in a safe space, container, and it's just amazing. And now, so right then I knew there was something so special about it. I did it once more, and then I became trained in it, because I was like, this is powerful medicine. It's amazing. anxiety, sadness, joy, even just to multiply your joy, and
Yes.
moving and dancing set to music. And there's no steps to follow. It's a very free form thing. We use these big beautiful scarves that kind of bring in that etherealness and that lightness, and it kind of takes you through a progression of a lot of different things, but in the end it's amazing how much lighter you feel. Whatever you came in with, you really just can leave on the dance floor.
Yeah.
And
That's
so
amazing.
it's a
We
great
love
thing.
the
And
somatic stuff. We love the stuff where you're bringing your body in, whatever it is. Where it's tapping, we have different things, but dance feels like an amazing way to process emotions, to deal with this stuff, and then, like you say, leave it on the dance floor. Release what you need to release, and I bet you come out of that feeling amazing.
Amazing. I mean, and it's great because I wasn't sure when I started the training. It was right after COVID, so it was all virtual, and I wasn't sure, like, is it, I had only done it in person, but now virtual, you just get the same benefits. You just do it in your own home. You know what I mean? So I
So
teach
you
both.
do virtual sessions. That's
I
great.
teach both in person and in virtual, and it's just a beautiful practice. I just am so grateful.
I feel like we need to add that to our workshops, Deb. Doesn't that just feel like an
Yeah.
amazing one to add? And I heard someone talk about that a few years ago, and I never really pursued it, like a little seed planted, but I love to hear you talking about it more. And it feels like, oh yeah, that sounds like something really good.
You talk, a lot about connection. Also, Marci and I, it's community connection, like all those things. We talk about COVID, as you were mentioning, taught a lot of us about connection and how incredibly important that is, just to be a human being, right? So talk about connection and that being part of your healing process.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I always tell this story, but days before Christian died, he died on a Thursday. So maybe it was a Tuesday. He was playing soccer, right? And at that time I had 6, 3, and 1-year-old. And so I was supposed to be like the co-coach, like I was going to coach with a friend. So I'm like trying to get out of the house. It was something like a 5 o'clock practice, and I'm dragging my kids along, feeling like I'm a mess of a mother, right? Like, here I come.
Nobody's
struggling
eating.
up.
It's just like,
Total mess, right? Chaos, whatever. So I finally get him on the field, and all the kids are like, "Yeah, this is great." And there's another coach that we were scrimmaging, and and she was the coach of the other team, and she had 2 boys, and one was playing and one was sitting on the field. And I'm looking at her, and I'm like, man, she's so put together. Like, she's coaching, everything's great, right? So everything happens, Christian, the accident happens and everything. And a couple months later, I see her again, and I'm like, she was at one of the fundraisers, I believe. They built a playground in Christian's honor. And she was like, I just wanted to pay it forward. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, oh, I lost my oldest son. And, a couple of years ago. And it really, like, woke me up to, like, obviously we can't take anything at face value, right? We're making our own narrative. But it also, having that connection with her and seeing, oh my gosh, I would have never known that. So if you can live on, and you can be a part of this world as a human being who still feels joy, who still coaches their child's soccer team, who still looks like she has it all together, like, then I can do it. And for me, that's what a lot of what the connection is about, is like, hey, if you can do it, I can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. And just sharing those stories of, like, oh yeah, there was a woman recently at one of our meetings, and she just was sharing that one of her sons was getting married, and what was she going to do, and how was she going to make it through? People wanted her to be happy. They didn't want her to be sad. And she was like, but my son is still gone. It's been 2 years. I'm happy that his brother's getting married. And so it was that connection in that meeting. I have to tell you, and this is some of what I do, the way everyone was stepping up for her and was just there for her. Right. And just saying, well, maybe you can do this, or, don't worry if you feel this way, or I've been through that too. It was like one of the most healing things to see, because you're not alone. And when we're not alone,
Yes.
That means everything, I feel.
Yeah, I was thinking about that when we were talking about having this discussion, and I was thinking about all of the human beings who have lost children. You think about the war that's going on in Ukraine and Russia. You think about every single one of
Mm,
those mothers who's lost a child, young or old, right? You look at Israel and in everything that's happened in that war, and the hundreds of thousands of people who have
mhm.
lost children, right? Not to diminish any of it. I'm just
No.
saying the culmination
The
of,
grief.
yeah, is enormous.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
some of us who sometimes take on all of that worldly stuff, sometimes that's the stuff
Yeah.
that can really take a person down. And so, I think for all of us, whether we've experienced that or not, it's our job to hold the container, right? Just like you're holding the container for these people who are local with you, it may be Marci and I's job to hold up, everyone else, to be able to hold you up, right?
So
It's
true.
it's it's a it's a universal thing that we're all going through. And
Yeah.
again, it would feel like if that happened to me, I must be the only person on the planet who has ever gone through this, right?
Very true. And I think that's one of the best things about the internet, right? It's like that
Yeah.
outreach and that connection can be expanded. And I feel
Yeah.
like that's a really important thing because sometimes you find people in their own community and they don't want to necessarily, they don't feel comfortable, connecting with others in their own community. But having
Yeah.
this outreach through the internet has really opened up doors for a lot of people. And it's
Yeah.
important. And I think that was part of why when I went into spiritual life coaching, I kind of went into it too, was think, I've been through this horrible thing. Maybe you're not going through that. Your worst is your worst, your life.
Right.
But I've navigated the worst of my life. So I want to walk alongside you and help you navigate it because I know
Yeah.
I need people still, right? I still see my therapist and I still see different
Yeah.
healers and
Yeah.
people who are walking along helping me. We all need
Yes.
each other.
That's how we do it. We do it together. We sometimes you're leaning and sometimes you're holding someone up and sometimes you're listening, sometimes you're hugging, sometimes you're flat on your face and your friends are around you, holding you, helping you get back up. It's all, again, it's like the stages of life idea, but it's like we get to be human and we like your final line of your introduction says, no one has to walk the path alone. Thank God for that.
Oh, this has been an amazing discussion, Kara, and I'm so grateful that you came to have this discussion with us. And hopefully a lot of people are listening and hopefully can figure out a way to find you. So tell us
Yeah.
how people can connect with you.
Absolutely. So you can go to lovefromheaven.org for more information about the nonprofit that I run for grieving parents. There's all of our information is there and my email is there. We're also on Instagram at lovefromheaven.org. So we are all over there. And then if you're interested in journey dance or spiritual life coaching, radiantresiliencecoaching.com has information there. And, I hold a virtual class every Tuesday for journey dance. So if you're interested in that,
Oh,
that's up there. Yeah. There's
yeah, I love
one-on-one.
that you're doing it virtual too, all of because it does open it up. Again, another thing from the internet. So wherever you are, you can reach out and do that.
Yeah. And that name was, well, obviously, right, very purposeful for me, but it was like the radiance is such an important thing. But so is the resilience. A
Hmm.
lot of times we think of like resilience as being tough and like I'm not
Mm.
going to like let
Yeah.
anything in. I'm just going to be stoic, but it's not. Like being radiant and resilience
Yes.
is really important.
Yeah.
Right. Otherwise,
So
why do we do it? If we're not going to have some radiance, we're not going to have some joy. We're not going to, yeah, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard.
right. You
Yeah.
can really learn joy and pain coexist. I mean, they do in my
Mhm.
life,
Yeah.
pretty much every day, even though the pain may
Mhm.
not be as sharp, it's still, it's always that like little bit of a tether,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so,
Yeah. Thank
but
you so
I'm just
much.
so grateful. Thank you for having me on. It's been lovely chatting with you. And I think these are
Yeah.
such important discussions and thank you for bringing them to light. I think they're really useful to share with others. So thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Hey, warrior moms. As we started this podcast, we had determined that part of what we were going to do is to create a community. So we have decided to take it to another level, and we have started our own Facebook community in addition to the Warrior Parent podcast, and it's called
From Chaos to Calm, a sanctuary for moms. Here's what it looks like. It's on Facebook right now. Please go and join it. And just to let you know, we're going to create our Blue Sky accounts right now. We're getting prepared as we watch this weird stuff go on in America. So we may be shifting the whole group to Blue Sky. Just be aware that we got you. We're going to start here. If this turns out to be not a safe place anymore on Facebook, then we will shift over. But what we're creating is a safe space where moms can show up and get information, get support, talk to each other about the things you're going through with your kids, the things you went through with your kids, maybe get some advice from moms, but also other experts. We're going to invite all of our guests and experts to join the group. I hope you will too. This is a place where you can show up and be seen and be heard and be safe. Mom's got you.
Nobody trusts anyone more than moms. So let's do this.
And now for your core mental health break. This is your opportunity to take a moment to support your mental wellness, your peace of mind, your own ease and grace. Take some time every day to support your mental health. You deserve it, and it matters.
Today's journaling prompt is, what I love about myself is. So get out your journal, get out a piece of paper, use your phone, and write those words. What I love about myself is, and then start writing, folks. Don't be modest. This is just for you. This is for you to acknowledge and feel gratitude for the things that you like about yourself. Start where you can, and I encourage you to keep adding and adding. Enjoy your journaling.
Thanks for listening to the Warrior Parent Podcast, which is a production of our nonprofit, Cour Experience, who also creates and distributes Cour tools. You can find us at courexperience.org. Make sure you join us next week for another informative conversation to help you and your family show up mindfully, purposefully, and joyfully with each other and in your community.
Our Cour Tools platform consists of a number of proven tools and techniques that are designed to reduce stress, anxiety, and overwhelm in spite of what's going on in your world. We want to thank Samuel Hale, LLC, for sponsoring this podcast. Technical and marketing support comes from Inspire Your Brand. Our podcast editor is Justin Beeden. Opinions expressed by guests do not necessarily reflect those of the hosts, the producers, or the financial supporters. I'm Debbie DiManno.
And I'm Marci Mitchell. Thanks for listening. If you resonate with the idea of creating a community to help support kids and families, won't you join us by following the podcast and sharing this episode? You can even write a review. It truly does take a village, and we appreciate you.